So we've got a little task for you. This is Cressida Dick, and she was the commissioner at the Metropolitan Police in the UK until recently. So she worked at Scotland Yard, and she was head of the Metropolitan Police. And in a couple of months ago, February, she resigned. And what we've got here, what we want you to look at, and you'll be looking at this as a full group, but then you'll be going in small groups of 2 or 3, then you can share what you've seen. So this is your first test of attentiveness, and what we're going to do is show you this video. This is Cressida Dick, and this is her resignation speech. It's 2 minutes long, so stay focused, and you'll need to hear and watch. So make sure your speakers are on, and make sure the volume's okay. So we're going to play this video now. I'd like you to watch it once only. You don't get replays in life, so you're only getting one chance. So life, 99% of your applications of this will be with real people. And sometimes you can record it, but sometimes, most of the time, you can't. So let's assume you can't. You're seeing this for the first time. Jot down anything you see and hear, and then we'll fire you off to your subgroups. We'll keep mixing you up, then you get to know everyone, and then you'll come back with what pins do you see. So we'll let you off to identify single pins, especially on the face, because we're covering the face now, so focus on the face, but also pay attention to anything else that's going on, and then come back and say, I saw something here which seems to be one of the pins. So this is not hunting for deception. This is hunting for indicators that are not consistent with the account, the baseline, or the context. Is that okay? Are you ready to go?
Following contact with the Mayor of London today, it is quite clear that the Mayor no longer has sufficient confidence in my leadership of the Metropolitan Police Service for me to continue as Commissioner. He has left me no choice but to step aside. I say this with deep sadness and regret. Undertaking this role, a Crown appointment, as a servant of the people of London and the United Kingdom, has been the greatest honour and privilege of my life. Throughout my career, I have sought to protect the people of this wonderful, thriving and diverse city. There have been many tough calls and many challenges. The 2017 terrorist attacks, the Grenfell fire, very difficult protests, the pandemic, the murder of serving officers. I'm incredibly proud of my team and all that they have achieved. The murder of Sarah Everard and many other awful cases recently have, I know, damaged confidence in this fantastic police service. There is much to do, and I know that the Met has turned its full attention to rebuilding trust and confidence and to raising our standards. I am very optimistic for the future of the Met and for London.
Okay, off you go into your groups, and I'll see you in about 5 minutes' time. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to take one point of interest from each group until we exhaust them. So I'm going to start with group 1, which is Charlie, Christine and Yana. So if one of you could just tell me, what did you talk most about, please? That would be useful in terms of pins.
Oh, I was going to... We talked about a few, anger and contempt, but I'll go with contempt.
You were, right, just keep it at that one. So group 1. You saw contempt. Now, you cannot see emotions, so what did you see?
We saw, what? I wasn't sure, but there was a raising of one side of the eyebrow, but also slight of the lip right at the beginning, when she talked about the mayor and his decision about her on. So it was like a flash, what looked like a flash of contempt for those muscles going up on one side.
Okay, so we've got the mayor's decision, and then we saw the raising of the lip on her left, and maybe a little bit of the eyebrow as well, and it was connected to the mayor's decision. Can I congratulate you for not only the spot, because you're right, and I'm sure everyone else who have been doing some face reading and paid attention saw this little expression on the lip too. The buccinator muscle pulled the lip into the centre of the cheek, and it was around the mayor's decision. So the fact that you've connected it to the account, and you've said it's, is that inconsistent or consistent? How's she portraying this presentation to the press?
She's conveying it as a mutual understanding and agreement, or as if it's amicable in some way when it clearly isn't, or it seems like it isn't.
Excellent. So this is titled a resignation speech, but she let it slip a little bit that this was by mutual agreement. Well, we know what that means, don't we? So this was mutual agreement with the mayor. But we also know that the mayor went public with this before this announcement, that he'd lost confidence in the leadership of the Metropolitan Police. And that was a dig into the pink underbelly of the leader, who at that time was Commissioner Cressida Dick. So this is a good one. Excellent. Can you put your hands up if you saw that real time? Okay, thanks for your honesty. About 75% saw that. I'm going to show it you again. I said no replays, but I was lying. I'm going to show it you again, then you can see that. Excellent. That's number one. Now be careful. What we don't yet know is what. Why do we have to stop ourselves saying she's feeling contempt? Why did I hold you back? Any offers? What else could it be?
Because we don't have the 327.
Well, that's for deception. We've got a reliable indicator of emotion here. So don't forget, this is a behavioural analyst course. So we're analysing behaviour, which can help you make decisions of veracity, truth and lies. But this is helping you to be a behaviour analysis expert. And therefore, reliable indicators on the face can give you strong hypotheses that emotions are being felt. But what else could that be?
Anger.
Okay.
Fear.
Excellent. So it could be fear, where the resource muscle pulls the muscles back, and she could have nerve damage on one side.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely because of what we know about emotions and the combination of symmetry and synchrony for those other emotions. But we can't rule them out because we've not yet really got baseline. We're only 10 seconds into the video at this point. So what we would do is we'd put contempt with a question mark. And then as we go through, if we don't see any reoccurrences that could be explained by ABC, the account, her baseline, and her idiosyncratic behaviour and tics, and context, this is her last speech as a commissioner on national press. And this is top news, and people even beyond the UK might be watching this. So this is the head of the police. So the pressure on her at this point is huge. So, and that contempt could be towards the mayor, because she mentions the mayor, but at the time she could have been thinking about one of her colleagues who has achieved the objective of getting rid of her so he or she could get her job. So we don't know to whom that contempt is directed, but we've got a good idea. We've got a strong hypothesis. So let's be careful about concluding, hypothesize, and if you find yourself jumping to a conclusion, roll up a newspaper and hit yourself over the back of the neck and say, bad dog, bad dog. So we collect and we consider, and then if we have to, we'll conclude later on when we've got a rich mix of the indicators, we've understood the behaviour and we've understood the ABC. So try and hold back the judgments until we get to the end. But I'm pushing you on this, so there's no problem so far, because I'm saying, what did you notice that could be an indicator that's consistent or inconsistent with what's going on? And that's a great one. So, group 2, that's Ilan, Marios and Zachariah. A different one.
I saw there's a point where she says that I'm proud I have the privilege to serve in the police. And exactly at that moment, her body made a movement like this. So this is congruent. She felt proud of this.
Okay, so what did you see?
I saw the movement of the body. When she said, I'm very glad to have the privilege and the honor to serve in the police.
Okay, so which way did the body move?
Up, like this. Yes.
Okay, so the body moves outwards. So that's was that breathing, or what are you suggesting that could be?
No. It was not breathing. It's just she was feeling very, very proud.
Proud, right? Okay.
She was.
And you're saying proud because at that time she was taught. What were the words she was using?
I have the privilege to serve.
Thank you. I have had the privilege. Yeah, so I've had the privilege of serving in the Metropolitan Police, and I think she said it was the honour of my life. Was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I had the privilege, and it was the honour of my life. So you're saying that's pride, and that's a good conclusion, because pride is one of the 16 enjoyable emotions. And when we're enjoyable, when we're happy, the body is elevated. When we're sad, the body is compressed and concaved. So those are two body movements which support the happy gesture. Just imagine watching a sports game and look at the people who've just scored a goal. And they'll jump off the floor and you'll see their bodies raised, their hands in the air maybe. Where the ones who have lost will go down, usually with their hands on their head. So this elevation and this closing down, this is almost like a concaving, is a body language indicator that's congruent with happiness and sadness. So happiness is 16 emotions, which is pleasure, sensory pleasures, pride in your children, pride in your job, Schadenfreude, happy at someone else's mistakes or problems. So no English word for that. But there's that kind of rich mix of pleasurable emotions. Pride is a good one. So that's a great hypothesis. So maybe she's feeling pride when she's talking about the privilege and the honour of my life. Now, is there anyone notice what was going on with her voice when she was talking about it was privileged and the honour of my life? Anyone? Fairly flat.
I think it's flat. Very flat.
Yeah.
Very flat.
So Deborah and Hing are saying flat. They're gesturing flat on the screen there. Did you notice anything about the quality, the tone of the voice?
Monotone.
It was the baseline.
Okay, well, we've a baseline. This is a formal presentation, so we've got a fairly controlled speech here. She's reading from a script. This is prepared. But when we get to this point, when we listen to it again, just tune in around this point that Marios has mentioned, where she's talking about the pride in the job, and you'll hear a flakiness in the voice. And that flakiness, that croakiness, is exactly the same as you heard from Aaron when he did this with his eyebrows. So in other words, she was leaking signals which could have told us that maybe she's at a subtle onset of sadness. So maybe she was struggling to keep together on that. and we've got some other clues about self-control that come later. So when you see the body elevate a little bit, you'll also see this tone is a little bit flaky. These are just symbols we use shorthanded for on our own notes. So body up, contempt, tone, wavering. But it was fairly plain. A bass line was plain throughout. So this is interesting because it's inconsistent with a bass line, and it could be explained by the words she's using. So so it fits. So we're not looking for deception. We're looking for meaning. You know, what's she feeling at this point? Because that gives us a backstory and a narrative of what's going on underneath the surface. Okay, group 3, Alison, Lee, Roxana, did you spot anything else apart from these?
Yes, what we saw was that when she was talking at the point about the events of the last year, when she said murder of police officers, for which she was angry, that's what
Excellent.
what
So,
we saw.
okay, so she mentioned a police officer who murdered a member of the public, Sarah Everett she was called,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the police officer was called Wayne Cousins, yes. So when she was mentioning that incident, you said she was angry. Now you can't see the emotion because it's inside, but what did you see?
Yeah, and her lips.
Her lips.
She was like, yeah.
Excellent. So we got a lip press. I'm using arrows up, arrows down on lips. That's my little symbol. I don't know if you can see it on your screens there. By the way, if you've not pinned this screen, if you pin it, you know you get full screen. Yeah, am I full screen on you now? Okay, good. Because if I'm just a tiny one in a box with everyone else, you can pin it and blow it up and see this more clearly. Right. So you've got the pressing of the lips.
Per person, or is it for everybody, Cliff?
Is it what, sorry?
The pinning, if I pin you, is it for everybody visible or only for me?
No, if you go into the corner of my screen, there's 3 dots, and if you say pin it, it will blow my screen up just for you.
Just for me, okay, perfect.
Yeah. And then if you want to watch someone else, which is a bit intrusive, but if you wanted to watch Hing and watch how he's behaving, which I've been doing all morning, then you can pin Hing and watch him when someone else is talking. I tell you what, this is the beauty of Zoom. Some people say, oh, Zoom, you must, as a behaviour analyst, you must struggle because you've not got the torso. So in other words, Zoom stops here, you've not got the legs. I've still got 5.5 channels. So we've lost the legs, but what we have gained is I can just click my little zoom and I can roll my little accessibility mouse trackpad and I can zoom in so I can see your eyeballs and the pupils dilating as you're describing things to me.
It's
Something
definitely
about not being creepy.
Yeah, it's geeky. It's intrusive, but you had no knowledge of that. So I can do that zooming. Obviously, I don't come like this, but I can zoom. And in our office, we have a studio, and we've got a 4 meter by 3 meter screen on the wall, so we can see all your faces. It's like a cinema in here. So we can make your face as big as the wall, and then we can make your pupil as big as a football, and we can study the 2 millimeter decrease and increase in your pupil. I lie not.
Thank you for letting us know.
So if I had to do, so I know I detract. I'm sorry. But if someone says, would you rather be face to face with a person in a room or have them on Zoom? Guess which I'd pick?
Zoom?
Which one would I?
Zoom, indeed.
I love
Face-to-face, it's wrong.
I love Zoom, yeah, because you especially if they
And you can record it.
you can record it and but they'll know you're recording it because we have a red button in the back. What I can do is get my iPhone in the background out of shot, recording the screen from a distance. But of course I'm ethical, and I would never use that recording for anything but my own learning and development.
Which we may be the material for your learning.
Yeah. No, I
Sounding more and more like a criminal offence clip.
I know.
Yeah.
I promise. We are an ethical company. We'd never do anything like that. Okay, so we've got the lip press and we've got a conclusion of anger. Now, a lip press could mean anger. Let's do a lip press for you. What else could it mean?
Difference of opinion.
Tell me more. Lip press. It might not be sadness, but
Keeping something in. Containing something.
could be thinking because it could be a sign of cognitive load. So just like the brows down, we've got let me think. So it could be thinking. What else?
Holding something back.
Holding something back. It could be suppression. So suppression. In other words, I want to control myself. I could be controlling the sadness that we heard later because I'm a professional. I want to perform well here. So I could be suppressing my emotions because the two ways of suppressing an emotion that we see often are the social smile, because it tightens these muscles and it can disguise the real emotion. So that's a masking smile. Or a smile might be inappropriate when I'm resigning. So instead of the masking smile, another thing we often see is a lip press. It's self-control, maybe. So it could be suppression or self-control. It could be suppression of any words that you're thinking here that you really want to say, and to stop them coming out, instead of doing this, which looks obvious, you do this. I don't say it about my real feelings about the mayor. So it could be suppression of feelings or of thoughts. So that could be feelings or thoughts. It could be anger, could be thinking. So we don't really know. She does it about 3 times. But it seems to be, from the pattern we see, at areas where it's a tough point of the presentation. So it could be a combination of staying controlled, emotional control, and also being careful not to say anything inappropriate. So we'd have to ask her some questions, and that's what we don't have here. With behaviour, you want some stimulus, and we've not got the 7 seconds here. We've not got the chance of a question going in to see how she reacts. All we've got is her own triggers. She's triggering herself with thoughts, feelings all the time. So she's got her own little cycle of 7 seconds, but we've not got the opportunity here to be the interrogator or the interviewer or the journalist to get to the truth. So those are the 3 great spots. So just come to group 4. Anything to add? Elvis, Jonathan, Jordan? Anything that we're not seeing? No?
Yeah.
I believe it was an element of the fear when she said London, and there was a lot more elements of sadness, specifically every time there was a murder mentioned. But I think there was like a close element of where she would like pull her lips.
She pulled her lips tightly. Yeah.
And she mentioned London, and then said, yeah, that all.
Excellent. So what we saw punctuated through the session, especially when around the middle, about 56 seconds, we saw the resource muscle engaged, the fear muscle. So she stretched her mouth back horizontally, which is a reliable muscle. It's the muscle here, connected to here. That muscle is congruent with fear. Of course, we've got the upper face as well. So it could be a subtle expression, which is a partial expression of fear, showing the anxiety level that's going on in that midpoint in the interview. Watch for that when we replay it. So that could be fear or anxiety. You've got to watch with these lip presses and these lip movements. Sometimes it happens when they swallow. So could it be explained by them swallowing? And she does that twice, I think. So sometimes to swallow, your mouth needs to be closed, and it causes a tightness. So it could be a swallow. But the swallow, as we'll see later, could be an indicator of high anxiety too, because the salivation is connected to the digestion. When the digestion turns off, when we're in an anxious state, the salivation turns off, our mouth gets dry, and to compensate, we lick the lips or swallow. So that would need testing with some good questioning, if we were there, but which we're not. So we've got the mouth stretch, we've got the lip press, we've got the tone waver, we've got the body up, we've got the flash of the lip corner into the centre of the cheek. And Hing Jo Rao, have you got anything to add?
So when she spoke on that particular topic, I saw her swallow and lick her lips. And you went over the autonomic response potentially.
Yep.
Fear. Yeah.
Yep.
So just to add, you were touching base on it already.
Okay. So swallowing and licking the lips is often a compensation for the salivation being dry. The salivation, just to summarize this again, is hardwired to the digestion system. When we're in a fight-flight mode, so usually fear or anger, all the resources in our bodies, after 400 milliseconds, get rediverted to the breathing in the upper chest, to the blood pressure, to the tension in the arms for fighting if it's anger, and into the legs for running if it's fear. So that autonomic nervous system response says, hang on a minute, right now we do not need rest and digest. So we can turn off the digestion system. The digestion system turns off, and this is in split seconds, turns off, the digestion system turns off, and the mouth dries. And therefore the speaker, you know this as a public speaker, you normally have a glass of water because your anxiety dries your mouth. And so what you then do is moisten it with a drink, or moisten your mouth so you can carry on speaking with a swallow or a licking of the lips. So we'll come back to that because that's psychophysiology. But swallow or licking the lips.
There's a one point, Cliff, I think when she said we deal with plenty of tough call.
Plenty of?
Tough call, cases.
Yes.
Yes, and there's a stretch, I think I would say fear, but there's a lip stretching on the side.
Excellent.
Maybe it's consistent, I don't know, maybe it's consistent with the tough call.
Yeah, so it's a tough call, was it tough haul or tough call?
Tough call.
Tough call, right.
Yeah, tough cases, tough call.
Excellent, so tough cases. Yeah, so again, the stretching of the mouth. Yeah, I think it happens 3 times, and I think you're bang on there with, that's one of the moments. Thank you very much. So let's have a look. Group 6, Petter.
Well, you've drained us dry of all of our answers there. Yeah, we pretty much managed to get quite a lot of those.
Yep.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't 100% sure if I saw a slight element of disgust in the mouth when she was speaking about the events that they've covered, and it might have been Grenfell or Sarah Everard, but when I looked, I thought that it looked to me like there might have been slight disgust.
Okay. If there was, I think I may have missed it, so we'll watch the video again.
I might be completely wrong.
Right, don't worry, no, you might be right. Let's have a look. So watch it. Go on.
Go on, sorry. No, go on.
We'll put the, let's get that one on here. I'll squeeze it up here. Was there disgust when she was talking about Sarah Everard or Grenfell?
Yeah, it was one of those events. And then the other sort of last comment that we had between us as well was the finale of the statement. She used her voice for those positive affirmations for the person that's coming in behind her, and it looks quite genuine.
Excellent, yeah. So positive affirmations, this is impression management. She can't be looking bitter, and the illustrators and the movements of the body and the head seem to be supporting those claims at the end. So it's either well performed or maybe...
I saw anger there, I saw a little bit of anger in that part of it.
Maybe that was where the anger come through towards the end as well. We'll have a look. Have a look.
I suppose it's that whole contextual thing, isn't it? That she's highly media trained.
Excellent.
She's used to these settings.
And she's reading from a script. This is not spontaneous.
And she was very clearly reading from a script, yeah.
Yeah.
She kept looking back.
Okay, Joe, you're itching to get in there, man.
Thank you. I think I seen at the beginning there was like a level of surprise almost that the Mayor of London didn't have any confidence in her ability as mayor or as police officer.
Okay, let's have a look at the eyes at the beginning. So was that eyes opening? Surprise?
No, kind of like here first, there's a slight little pulling and a little bit of a.
So pulling sideways?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well that's not, with surprise, it's like this, mouth down. So that's fear. So maybe that's one of the fear expressions. We'll have a look. Is that fear or surprise? Let's have a look. We've got, just let me finish the last group and I'll come back to Christine. So Deborah, Leanne and Vanessa, did you spot anything different?
I think we covered a lot of it. I mean, we got the main thing that I took out of it was the flat speech. So there was, I felt that there was a lack of emotion. So it was just like you say, it was just this plain
speech.
Almost robotic.
Yes.
I would call it. We've picked up on a couple of chin juts, the tongue lick.
That tightening of the lips when she said loss of confidence. The mayor has a loss of confidence in the Met Police, and also the same tightening of the lips when she said she's optimistic for the future of the people of London. Excellent.
Yeah, that was the other one. Opportunistic. Okay. Thank you. Right. Excellent. We've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points of interest. And we've got Christine, a hand up there. Have we covered your point?
It was just to say the tightening of the lip, it just seemed to happen when she was looking down a lot. So every time she looked down as if she could be reading, obviously she's reading the script.
Excellent.
She looks down and her lip goes, you see the tightening. I didn't know whether it was anger, sadness, but that side of her lip that you could see tighten every time she looked down. And it happened at a point, so I didn't know whether that was almost a moment where she could drop some of what she was trying to present.
Excellent. So we've got the script, so context could explain the looking down of the script. We've got the tightening of the lips, so she's probably punctuating this prepared speech with a tightening of the lips to rather than go and ers, rather than use filled pauses, she might be tightening the lips to suppress a speech. I'll finish that paragraph, I'll check my next paragraph, I'll think how this is going, and then I'll represent. So as we've heard, the training for a senior police officer like this who's constantly in the media is extensive on how to manage your body language, how to manage a presentation. So I think context might explain some of the lips in terms of pausing, thinking, buying thinking time, but also reading the script. But yeah, so it's looking at the combination of is she looking down and pressing the lips at the same time that she's checking a script. So that's excellent. It's this kind of corroboration which we're going to build in tomorrow as we start to build you up channel by channel. Okay, Leanne, final point, and then we'll see the video again. Thank you.
Yeah, just firstly, Deborah sort of touched on it there was a bit of chin raising from her, especially at the beginning. Could that be considered her having pride in like her position or wanting to sort of give off that opinion of, you know, I'm here presenting myself really well to people. I'm confident in what I'm about to, like I'm a confident person in front of the media. But because it was quite obvious a few times.
Excellent. Yeah, I love the word could be. So when people use could be, I love it. So could it be that she's got the pride in terms of having this presentation and the years that she's been a public servant? Could it be a display of confidence? Because as public speakers, we're told to, you know, pull our shoulders back, stand proud, open our hands with openness, and we get all these tips of how to give a public presentation. So it could be part of her drill of, I don't want to look like I've been fired. I want to look like I'm proud and I'm not ashamed. So this could be an impression management. She's trying to portray something that may not be genuine, but it could be. We don't know because we can't interview her.
Completely different when she starts talking about the murder of the police officers, and you see that, or that's where she sort of takes a little breath. She's talking about all these tragic, critical incidences that occurred during the tenure, but there was that one where she actually sort of stopped a little bit, took that sort of breath, and looked a bit.
Absolutely.
That was one that really hit her. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you want to dig deeper in this, we've not got time now, but you can have a look at the Wayne Couzens interview, because she gave a speech on Scotland Yard steps, that's the Met Police building, and she gave a speech about the sad case where a police officer off duty killed a victim, Sarah Everard, abusing his power as a police officer. And we know well, if you don't know the consequences, we'll not taint the session with the detail. It's terrible. But you can Google Wayne Couzens and the Met Police speech. It's only 3 minutes long, but if you watch that, you'll see some familiar sights. She gets more sad in that one. Watch for the sadness towards the end. But if you want to practice, have a look at that case. Okay, excellent. So thank you for that. We've got the flip chart there. We'll pull out of the way. And then we'll move back in and give you another chance to have a look at the presentation. So are you ready? So consider the points that we've been looking at. We're going to zoom in on the screen in 5-10 seconds, and we're going to start the video again. So check the points other people have made and check your points. Before we do, we've got a question from Raoul. Your audio, turn your audio on, Raoul. Thank you.
Sorry about that. When she started speaking about death of serving officers, her lips pressed down.
Yep. Yeah, so see if you can see what that is. See if it's anger, suppression, or...
It's near the end.
Okay, well, you pay attention to that. Let's have a look in a minute. You ready to go?
Following contact with the Mayor of London today, it is quite clear that the Mayor no longer has sufficient confidence in my leadership of the Metropolitan Police Service for me to continue as Commissioner. He has left me no choice but to step aside. I say this with deep sadness and regret. Undertaking this role, a Crown appointment, as a servant of the people of London and the United Kingdom, has been the greatest honour and privilege of my life. Throughout my career, I have sought to protect the people of this wonderful, thriving and diverse city. There have been many tough calls and many challenges. The 2017 terrorist attacks, the Grenfell fire, very difficult protests, the pandemic, the murder of serving officers. I'm incredibly proud of my team and all that they have achieved. The murder of Sarah Everard and many other awful cases recently have, I know, damaged confidence in this fantastic police service. There is much to do, and I know that the Met has turned its full attention to rebuilding trust and confidence and to raising our standards. I am very optimistic for the future of the Met and for London.
Okay, any reflections on the points that we made? And that's over there on the flip chart. And the observations that you've done on the second viewing. Anyone? Hands up. Any reflections? Yes, Jonathan.
Can contempt be shown with like the mouth open as well, or is it just limited to just like registering each person moving to the side?
Either. It's like anger. You can have open mouth contempt, closed mouth contempt. Often it's closed because the muscles like raised here and it stretches the lip, but it could be contempt. Like the Elvis Presley lip is also contempt. So that can be with the lip open. So it's this muscle, which is action unit 10, or action unit, the buccinator here, 14, into the centre of the cheek. So either of those. Okay, we've got David. Your question, please. Observation.
Yeah, something I picked up on, I don't know if anybody noticed. She talked about the mayor. She used distancing language. She called him the man after she referred to him as the mayor. That kind of distanced herself from the guy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, third-party references. We're going to get to this in the verbal content. But calling someone like the mayor, I mean, she's not even using his name there, but the mayor, but the man or him, you know, is even more remote. And often we'll distance ourselves from things we don't like. And we'll come back to that. Thanks, good spot, David. And Zachariah.
Yes, I noticed two things which were very interesting. The first part was when she was referring to her resignation, she was speaking about her deep sadness and regret. And at that particular moment, she presses her mouth together, or her lips together.
Excellent.
And she also referred to what her team has achieved, all that they have achieved. And while she says achieved, her upper lip is moving upwards, but I'm not sure whether that is her pronunciation of achieved or that is something else. So
yeah.
It is something that I noticed.
And there was a spot of, someone said this spotted disgust maybe. So there could be a little bit of disgust towards the team. But you're right to be cautionary about coding or interpreting the face when people are speaking. Because some people do all sorts of funny things with their mouth when they're speaking or chewing. So the fax coders in the room know that you shouldn't code the lips when people are speaking. It's just something that can lead to mistakes. So that's a great point. But also the lip press, is it suppression, is it anger when she's talking about the colleagues? We don't know without further questions. But it's great that you're pulling so much out of, it's only a 2-minute video, but you pulled out so much here. And we're only on day 2. So excellent. Any final points? Yeah, we've got Elan. Anything to add?
I think what was interesting is that content-wise she said, okay, the trust in the police is gone, and in the same sentence she's incredibly proud of them. So it's just so contradicting, right? And showing disagreement and why she's leaving and that she doesn't agree. So I thought that was interesting. And at the end it was when she said she has confidence, it's almost she forgot London. She stopped and then blinked 2 times and mentioned it again. So it didn't feel like confidence in that moment.
Excellent. So we've got 3 subtle disconnects there from the words that she's using. Now let's be mindful. She's reading from a speech, but this speech may not have been written by her. So she may be forced to read a pre-written speech about the Met. She's proud of the Met. But public confidence right now is at an all-time low of the police, not just because of Sarah Everard, but because of racism. There's institutional racism accusations being made against the Met Police. And some senior officers, their text and WhatsApp messages were intervened about the gruesome content they were sending to each other. And so there's a lot of bad press right now for the police. And the Met is taking the heat. And maybe Cressida Dick is a casualty of that. Maybe she's responsible. I mean, she's the leader, but we know the police is a big institution. So this speech could have been written for her, and so she could be connected to some parts of it, like her work colleagues who've stuck by her, but disconnected from the mayor and other people who haven't stuck by her. So there could be all sorts going on in her mind right now. And this was a speech, no questions. So when you see them spontaneously responding to questions, we can get a better indication of what they're really thinking and feeling. So we've got to put that caveat in here. This was a prepared speech, read by Cressida Dick, maybe not written by her. She will have rehearsed it, and she's an experienced presenter. So you've got to factor all. That's it, and factoring all that content into it. It's no wonder that she was conflicted, is the word I think you used there, which is a great point. Okay, finally, Leanne, then I will have to move on.
Yeah, just quickly, when she was talking about how it's been the biggest pleasure of her life, there was that the head nod of yes with it. So the synchrony of that in those positive words, it was consistent with that positive memory or thing, as well as the duration. It was just nice and short there. The other thing I noticed is when she was talking about the mayor and having putting into question my leadership, and it was an inflection of the way that she said the word my, and then when she said and for me, like it was very personal.
Excellent.
At that point.
Excellent. And we got that little flutter with the tone that followed a few quarter of half a minute later that shows that she's really feeling this, and it's loss of a valued thing. It's loss of a valued post. This is the most senior police post in the UK, and she's lost that post. So sadness would be congruent with that predicament. But there's all sorts of other things going on. Excellent work, excellent work. So as a team, you've picked up about a dozen points of interest. And then what we would start to do tomorrow is, in cases like this, if you were the journalist or the interviewer or a best friend, where would you go with the data you have? So where do you go next? What would you ask next? If you had 3 questions to help the colleague, depending on what the goal is, if you're trying to embarrass them, your questions will be different. If you're trying to be empathetic with them and sympathize with them and help them to express the truth, then the questions will be different. If you're trying to find lies, your questions will be different. We've got to know what this conversation with a purpose is. What's the purpose of your questions? So we'll be working on that tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you for engaging so actively.